Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition's Tuesday evening Power Not Paranoia webinar series. Today is our part 29. Gosh, starting back on March 17th, how just time flies, but happy to be here. Happy to be continuing to building together, happy to continue with this engagement. And hopefully would love to see each other in person very, very soon. But till that happens, let's keep on building. Let's keep on building this power. So today's webinar is on police state, gender and sexuality in time of COVID and uprisings, and it's going to be an awesome conversation. I just want to do a quick overview of some logistics. Many of the folks who are going to be joining in will be on mute. And there's a reason for that. Don't want to police anyone's or silence anyone's conversation, but just trying to preserve the integrity of the space. We have been Zoom bombed. We've had our share. And then also there's also the chat as well is available for for everyone, so people won't be able to send private messages. So here we are today, and I'm going to pass it on to Ali, who's going to give us some overview about the interpretation process. Thank you, Ali.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Ale. I will be one of the interpreters today, along with Byron, who is somewhere around there as well. Hola, soy Ale. Voy a ser una de las intérpretes hoy, al igual que Byron is por acá. Tell us a little bit about how it will work. We will have the interpretation on a separate conference line. Vamos a tener la interpretación simultánea en una línea de conferencia. Y el número es, we will have the interpretation on a separate conference line, and the number to call is 732-434-3412. I'm posting it on the chat as well. El número para llamar con su celular es 732-434-3412. Recomendamos usar audífonos. Si tienes 2 sets de audífonos, sería increíble. We recommend using headphones. If you have 2 sets of headphones, that would be great. La interpretación va a ser por la línea telefónica. The interpretation would be through the telephone line, so you're listening through there. Y vas a ver a les presentadores en la pantalla, and you will see the presenters on the screen in the computer. Si algunas notas sobre la interpretación, les pedimos que si nos ven haciendo doing this on screen, so that way we can try to capture the speaker's attention. That means we're asking the speaker to live it. In the same way, if you see us do this, we're asking the speaker to speak a little louder. Si nos ven hacer este señalamiento, le estamos pidiendo a la persona que esté presentando que hable un poco más, que le suba el volumen un poquito. And then just a general rule, we ask that only one person speak at a time. That way we don't have to prioritize once interpreting one voice over the other. And if you see us, we usually do this, but we might actually interrupt on the conversation as well. les pedimos que solo una persona hable a la vez. De esa manera no tenemos que darle prioridad a una voz sobre la otra. Regularmente el señalamiento es como una, pero muy probablemente si eso pasa, quizá interrumpamos un poquito la conversación. Y de nuevo voy a poner el número en el chat. And again, I'm going to drop the number, the interpretation line on the chat. It's 732-434-3412. Es 732-434-3412. Tenemos una línea particular para quienes nos llamen si están en Colombia. También la voy a poner acá. We have a specific phone number for folks joining us from Colombia. And I'm gonna also drop it in the chat. We also have a particular phone number if you're joining us from Guatemala. También tenemos una línea, un número particular para llamar, para que llamen si nos están sintonizando desde Guatemala. También la voy a poner. Muy probablemente les pida un código de acceso, también lo voy a poner en el chat, y es el mismo código de acceso para Guatemala y para la línea de Colombia. It's the same, it might ask folks for access code, and I'm also going to drop it in the chat shortly, as soon as I find it.
And on to you, Chella.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. Can people hear me? Is this good? Okay, great. Welcome everybody. A little bit about why I chose to do, I feel like an international struggle type situation tonight is just because of the connections that I have. I have many connections with many different friends from many different countries, and just hearing about how, like, what's going on in places like Colombia, what's going on in places like Brazil and Mexico, and also Australia, you know, and also later on, we will hear from, I pre-recorded a conversation with an awesome writer who critiques gender and race in the Middle East. And they are gender non-conforming, and you know, I don't want to get too much into that, but yeah, I'll save that for later. But yeah, so we have some panelists. We have Shah from Australia. They are an Indigenous trans GNC femme, Black Indigenous femme. I met them about 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I think. We have Jessica, who I've also had the pleasure of meeting and being in around, and I'm a keep it real partying with. And I think she's amazing, and I'm super excited that she's here. And then we are gonna hear from the trans mujeres in Colombia, you know, what's going on with the fight in there. And then, like I just said, the person's name that I interviewed, their name is not. So with that being started, I'm going to start my first question with Shah. Shah, how has the political climate and what's going on with Black Lives Matter specifically affected, and COVID, affected trans and gender non-conforming folks in Australia?
Hey everyone, thanks for having me, Chella. Yeah, so Chella kind of did my introduction, but currently I'm on the unceded sovereign soil of the Pakana people in Lutruwita, which is the little island off the mainland of Australia. And I kind of fled the mainland after there were these huge bushfires. I don't know if anyone saw anything of that, but we lost, you know, billions of animals. And so it was very disturbing. And the state of affairs in Melbourne, particularly, which is where I was, the police there are just really fascist. They're really, really present. They're kind of on the streets, at every train station. And it's a very small population here. The population is the same population as the population of Texas. And so every city you know, kind of feels like a small town, but it's still very metropolitan. And, you know, but just the police presence with the number of people, sometimes it feels like there's equal amounts of police as there is people in any given place you look. Often they're very young, often they're very untrained. They kind of have big police recruits that happen. And, you know, it's very passive here. It's very white. It's very pretending to be progressive, you know, pretending it's, you know, but it's a genocidal state. And they had a, White Australia policy. It was called the White Australia policy up until the 70s in Australia. And so it's kind of very anti-Black, you know, at its core. And so Blackfellas, who are the Indigenous people, you know, to the mainland, and then anyone visibly Black is kind of always being surveilled. You know, it's like I can't really go a day without microaggressions or just blatant aggressions if I go outside. And the police, are very intense and just annoying at this point. It's just really annoying. But it's like a British penal colony, you know, so it doesn't ever surprise me that this is what it looks like. At times, you know, it'll ebb, and it will, you know, seem, you know, that we can all kind of just be here, and the Indigenous people here are so strong, and so just it's so present here. It's very sacred, very beautiful country and land, and so that kind of is every day what is what I try and highlight and what I try and connect with, and stand in solidarity with the land protectors, because it's also being sold off. The land quite a bit. The land quite a bit is being sold quite a bit to China, to America. You know, there's a lot of kind of agendas here, because it's kind of a newer colony, only 250 years old. So it seems like a testing ground, much like probably Israel. You know, it's got that kind of energy of like a settler colony. But Black Lives Matter here, and it was interesting because like Blackfellas here have been doing the work since the beginning of this colony, fighting back and resisting. But then Black Lives Matter came from America. So when anything comes in, it's an import, you know, in Blackfellas, you know, very wary of having things come in, you know, because everything is colonizing, everything is neo-colonialism, everything is not, it's so beautiful and sacred here that anything that kind of is a new story has to be taken on in a, you know, with protocols being respected and with culture being respected. And being a Black person here from America, because I'm Black Indigenous to America, that's also what I have to point out. So, but I have connections to this place too, and stand in solidarity with, you know, Aboriginal people here. That's the only people I really collaborate with or talk to when it comes to, you know, resisting police violence, because they do have a lot of really amazing stories and history of activism. There's a lot to learn, I think, worldwide from the activism and the resistance here. But I was just a little bit disappointed that there was a kind of a bit of a co-opt in a way when the Black Lives Matter movement came through here, of a lot of kind of like heterosexual cis kind of men who weren't saying much, you know, but then just kind of became the voice piece. And there was also a lot of tension between the Black communities, between Aboriginal communities, African diaspora, and African American. I'm one of the, you know, there's only a handful of us African Americans in the mix of all this. And so it's interesting always, in my position, I'm often kind of trying to interpret, you know, what is actually being, you know, shared from the Black community in America compared to what most people just see it on television, you know, or are just have no concept of the roots of that. But the Aboriginal people in Naarm, the place I lived, had a real big connection with the Black Panthers back in the day, and Black Panthers and Muhammad Ali had come to meet with families. And so there is a bridge that had been formed in the past. And my work is kind of trying to rebuild that bridge and try and nourish that bridge, because there's a lot of misinformation and kind of resentment that builds when things especially come from America. You know, I don't think people even understand here. They don't understand a lot about that. You know, it's still a lot of misinformation, as well as I feel like people on Turtle Island don't really fully, you know, besides Indigenous people who have had that relationship with Aboriginal Australia, you know, across Indigenous lines. So yeah, I'm just trying to bring more awareness to that relationship. And yeah, the Black Lives Matter movement was big. It definitely brought together all the Black people, because it's like, I was here on the island and it's very white. Like, you don't see a Black person, you know, you might not see them in a day. It's kind of that white, or a brown person. Like, it's just very, very white. But when Black Lives Matter came, it was like everyone came out of the woodworks. And so it was a nice time to see, you know, because it feels like we're hiding a lot of the time. But so to see everyone come out for that was really powerful, and to make those connections and to try and keep building community around that. But everyone is very, especially on this island, you know, is surrounded by a lot of whiteness and white people. And it's difficult here, I find, sometimes to organize along the lines of being, you know, BIPOC, of being Black, Indigenous and people of color. It's a bit of work that still needs to be achieved, because the white people are very entitled here, and they live in a very beautiful place. So they're very comfortable. But yeah, that's pretty much the experiences I've been having. And yeah, I just hope for stronger kind of awareness and of each other across, you know, the seas to be made. That's where I'm trying to, because it feels very isolating here, and it can feel very discombobulating, very the context is very strange. We've all kind of been placed here, you know, to create like a multicultural illusion of a colony that's progressive. And so it's a bit awkward.
Well, thank you, Shah. Thank you
You're
for saying all
welcome.
that.
Thanks,
So Jessica, are you ready for your question? Yes? Okay. So my question to you, Jessica, is not just you, but also other trans Latinas, especially in the US right now. How has COVID and what's going on right now in the political climate of all the violences from the state and the violences from transphobia and misogyny, how has that affected and impacted, number one, livelihood, and number two, survival for yourself and for other trans women that you've seen?
And they may want to unmute as well.
No puedo escuchar.
Ale?
Sí. Yeah.
They are not muted, so.
Sorry, we're with Jessica on the line. Sorry.
Sí, Sara. A ver, intenta hablar otra vez. Un segundito.
Ale, I can just take over from here if you want, because I have her on the line, so then I can just say it here.
I see. Okay.
Okay, disculpa, Jessica, continúa, ¿me escuchas? Oh. No, ella no me escucha a mí, Ale, pero tú dile que continúes, disculpa. No sé si yo estoy en el...
Dale.
Okay, Jessica? Good afternoon, everyone. So some of you may know me. My name is Jessica. I'm a migrant from Guatemala. And as we know, as some of you may have heard over the last couple of days, a trans Latina woman was attacked in a park in LA. So I want to start at that point. It's important to reiterate that us as trans women, as queer, as women of color, as migrants, we're still being criminalized. And we must bring a stop to this. So there's a lot of different issues that arise in our communities, and there are different ways that we are targeted based on the different community groups that we have established. So as an example for myself as a trans Latina woman here in the United States. So the issue I face is racism. The issue I face is being undocumented, not having access to some resources. And this is why they're trying to scare us. This is why they're trying to scare us into obscurity, but we're not scared. We may not have papers, but we're not afraid either. So a lot of our trans sisters are being affected in this pandemic. There are different ways in which our communities are being impacted. Because a lot of us don't have access to housing. A lot of us don't have access to a work or a job that is dignified in the eyes of society. A lot of us has to engage in sex work. In order to just survive. And I would like to bring to the forefront that we as a community in the month ahead, while we find ourselves in electoral politics in a process where people are electing their upcoming leaders or their representatives. We must be able to set forth policies that would protect us. And that will not just simply box us into one place. Because a lot of us who come from Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Colombia, we come fleeing a lot of criminalization, a lot of stigmatizing, and all this labeling. Why? Because the governments do not give us any guarantees that will protect us. Therefore, we must continue fighting. We must continue to come together as a group, united. We must be able to come together across personal differences in order to work and help all your sisters, all the Latina sisters, all the sisters of color, all the sisters who are growing up or being raised will have access to benefits that we would also like to find ourselves with access to now. And this pandemic has brought out to the forefront, brought out to light all the different issues that impact our communities. It forced us to the sidelines. This pandemic, this current conditions allow us to continue to survive, to finding ways to be able to be pushed to the boundaries, to the sides, to the margins, and yet find ways to survive as a community. And although it scares me, it also upsets me to the fact that our trans sisters are continuing to be brutalized at the hands of people that are not being persecuted. Simply based on our gender identity or our sexual orientation. And we must find a way to come together, to be united in order to bring a stop to this. And thank you for having me here today. Sorry, everyone, we're trying to figure out the interpretation, logistical tech ends, but hopefully we'll be continue working on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Byron. Thank you for your labor. I know how hard this is. My next question is for our comrade in Colombia, Mati, right? Is that how you pronounce their name, Mati? So Mati, I'm hearing the news, hearing what's been going down, over in Colombia right now, especially with the youth uprising, younger folks uprising. Can you give a little description of what's been going on for folks that don't know?
Okay, so right now. Well, in Colombia, since last year, we have been trying to bring an uprising since like 21 of September of 2019. We were at the streets. This condition of the pandemic has like made people go to their houses. But the thing is that because of the pandemic, we have lost a lot of jobs and work and everything, and our government hasn't give us no sources or not helps, no reliefs for these conditions. So this year the uprising started again. The Red Comunitaria Trans, the Red Comunitaria, ¿cómo se dice en inglés? The Red Comunitaria Trans is now trying to make this year a little movement, a little mobilization in Bogota, because one of our members have been killed in the barrio Santa Fe, the neighborhood where transgender and sexual workers go to, and she didn't receive help. She didn't receive the help she needed when she was having a condition of a health condition. So they let her die. And because of this, we gathered and mobilized. In this year, in Colombia, just in the Atlantic coast, by the north of the city of the country, have been dead 29 transgender people. And I am right now in Cartagena, which is a city at the north. And this weekend, they killed someone killed one girl. Her name was Michelle, and the media present this like it was they keep calling her with like La Michelle as she was a he. And last week or so, the army killed another transgender woman at the south in the Cauca, because she was with her boyfriend, and they didn't stop in their car when like army patrol asked them to stop, and they didn't stop, and they shoot them, and they kill her with a shoot in the head. So these kind of things are going increasingly and normalized and justified in the media, very in our faces. This mobilization is not only of transgender. Now, what we call La Guardia Indígena, a group of indigenous people, have made a call. We call that a minga. They are trying to regather and reunion and walk from the south of the country to Bogota. The idea is they are going to make a huge mobilization by the 21 of October. And they already, this guy who's Uribe, I don't know if you know him, he's our ex-president. He's a very fascist leader. He's by this time he's in jail because of not because of the massacres he made or ordered, but because of he was caught trying to buy some testigos. I don't know how to say testigos.
Witnesses.
Witnesses. Thank you. So because of this little thing, they have him in jail. But although he's having his Twitter account on, and he's criminalizing the Minga right now. And he has all the microphones, he has all the media by his side, and they always try to say people who are in mobilizations are vandalos, youngsters are people who want to bring hate and violence because they burn. I don't know if you knew, but also almost a month ago, the police killed a white young student of law just because he was in the street like buying alcohol, and they killed him. So in Bogota, people started like a very strong strike, and they burned some places that we call CAIs, which are like little police departments, little like police stations more. And people burned this out, and because of they were burned, they said, oh, this is only violence, this must be guerrillas, this must be a terrorist paid by the narcos. And they paint all this like narrative of justification of the violence, and at the same time criminalization of the mobilization. So that's the like environment we are living in. And it's very easy to this media to criminalize and normalize the killings of transgender sexual workers. For them, it's like they have to be doing something of the killing. So we are trying to change that idea, trying to bring it to the media, but it's very hard. Although we have like made a strong movement through social medias, but it's not enough. And I think this kind of coalition and gathering between different people in different countries living this kind of violence will give us a way to start thinking of dissolving this kind of militarized states we live in. Something like that is what is happening here in Colombia.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Yeah, when I heard about it, I just, my heart sank, but it gave me hope to see the uprisings. But like, South America don't play, and I see that. I've seen that for like 8 years, watching when shit goes down, you know. Shah, what is liberation like? What is the fight back looking like in Australia? Especially with Black and Indigenous folks. I think you touched on it earlier about the solidarity. What is it looking like now? Is there room right now to talk about that, or is there like some, or are most people copacetic and just apathetic to it?
Yeah, there's, as I said, there's a lot of apathy. It's really because it's majority white people that really kind of puts a dampener, or like, it can feel really hopeless because, yeah, they built this colony for themselves. And so, you know, anything that is happening is kind of washed over. The media here is owned by Rupert Murdoch, who is Australian, who also owns Vice. He owns all the there's only 3 television channels. There's like Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10, and he pretty much owns all of them. So the news is the same. The people here are very brainwashed and very comfortable. So it's very dangerous, you know, and meanwhile, you know, Aboriginal people have the highest deaths in custody in the world if you look at it per capita. You know, the percentage of, you know, Black people in this country is small, but the way that we are all being treated is horrific. Like it's still a continuing genocide. So often, as I said, we're kind of hiding. We're kind of a bit, it's traumatic. It's really to just be, you know, it's not our society. We, you know, because in Turtle Island, it's, you know, there's just people, you know, Indigenous people have land, have, you know, reservations, have land. There's Black America, they built it. You know, there's a sense of kind of a bit more ownership, whereas here it's very much a prison colony. And so it's very disempowering. The resistance looks like solidarity often, and we're often just giving to one another. So the resistance is quite nourishing, which I appreciate. There's kind of there's a big kind of family, you know, supportive vibe in nature, and the land is kind of what speaks the loudest. And what Aboriginal people have taught me here is that, you know, that is the person to listen to, is the land itself. And so I really appreciate, yeah, as I said, the resistance here feels quite nourishing. But even though we're up against kind of like a white supremacist monstrosity, it's just terrible. It's really, it's, yeah, and it's not until I really leave sometimes when I go home to see my family that I really recognize how deeply psychologically traumatizing it is to be in a place that, yeah, it wants to destroy, you know, any evidence of Black people having been here, of being here. But it's kind of also cheeky. There's a lot of humor in the resistance here, and we're all a bit cheeky. And so we're often just doing things that highlight the stupidity of what is going on. And fairly successfully. I feel like there's a lot of hearts and minds to win over kind of vibe. And the white people here are, you know, paramount in changing it, but they're very hard to move, and they're very performative, and they just do their white thing. But there's definitely reparations coming. A good friend of mine just got sworn into Parliament, and I think she could even be the Prime Minister. And because it's such a small population, sometimes it feels hopeful, because it's kind of like we all know each other, so it's just a bit silly. And then there's just like this mass of just kind of annoying whiteness that they're also don't know what they're doing. They're on an island, they're displaced. Their ancestry is also one of displacement. They were brought here by England, and so they don't know what they're doing. And as I said, because it's a young colony, only 250 years old, it sometimes seems like there's room, where the world is coming to today, it's positive in terms of it's supporting, globally supporting sovereignty and Indigenous governance, and all those things are possible, but it always feels just that little bit out of reach, or we don't know exactly, but we keep pushing almost every day. It's like a leaning in to it. And but it's like, yeah, it's just kind of, you get a bit traumatized, so you just kind of become a bit funny. Like, I think we're all just a bit funny. And like, we're just like out here, like it's just really, yeah, bamboozling context. And it doesn't, yeah, it feels quite close knit. That's what it feels like. It's like our network and our support, and everyone knows each other. So it's weird. It's different to other places where there's a lot of people, because having a lot of people changes, whereas here they've got plans for this place, and so it's also about resisting those plans and kind of sabotaging their efforts through outsmarting them, because they're also really stupid. Like they haven't militarized yet, but they're building up to it. And the military has been going door to door because of COVID stuff. There was a curfew, an 8 p.m. curfew. They're very paternalistic, and people here are very complacent. So people just listen. And because there's so many white people, sometimes I don't even know who I'm fighting for. Like, I'm not really fighting for the society to be better, because I'm like, put it all in the bin. Like, we want to live, with Black people on the land. That's goals. So yeah.
Thank you for that. I echo that. That's what I know your politics, and that's why I invited you to this conversation. Jessica, are you ready for the next question? Okay, I love your smile. Yes, hermosa. So what does safety look like for you? And what does safety look like for other trans women who are undocumented in America? What does it look like, and how can folks like myself, even though I am trans as well, how can we be inclusive of the struggle, and of safety nets for all trans women?
La seguridad para ti. ¿Cómo se ve?
Jessica, ¿nos escuchas? Va pues.
Are you there?
Okay, continúa. I'm going to repeat the question. There were technical issues.
Do you want to do it too, Byron? Or are you good?
What was the question, Chela?
It was pretty much.
Oh, no, I got the question. I'm sorry. Sorry, I got it. Sorry. Mujeres trans en los Estados Unidos. ¿Y qué puedo hacer yo como una persona también trans, pero nacida en ese país, una persona de color, una persona negra? ¿Cómo podemos apoyar a tu sentido de seguridad? ¿Y qué significa para ti la seguridad y cómo se ve la seguridad para ti?
It's a It's a question that's very scandalous. It's a question that's very, it's a bit, we'd love to have that love, right? But I am one of those people that I need to unite with my community. We have to be together in the struggle. We have to join because, for example, in the US, you might have a step ahead of you, but you don't stop being a trans woman like I am. And so security does impact us, to many of us as Latin American women that migrate from one place to another. Security is very precarious because it's always, we're always scared, or with Jesus in our mouth, it's a Spanish saying. I have to look in every direction to take care of myself because I don't want someone with a crazy mind come and tell me something because I'm the way of I'm dressed, the way of acting different than what he believes is normal. Security is super short, I'd say, but sí, espérame, sí te escuchamos. Es que me puse en mudo yo para acá para no escucharme dos veces. And so I feel that we have to take care of each other and unite in the struggle. In my country, the struggle in my country for trans women is very different. And so security for us as indigenous community is because we have a gender identity as indigenous people, makes it harder. And so that's why security is a struggle and harder. And many of my compas or siblings, we flee from racial insecurity, from patriarchal insecurity, from the insecurity of, I didn't catch that last part. All of us that are here in this country, that doesn't have to be a that separates us, but something that unites us, because everyone is in together in the same circle, in the same struggle, fighting so that there is that colonization doesn't continue to oppress us, to displace us, that to say, why are you short? Why are you, I don't want you in our country. If you are, we have to continue fighting so that we can get that. But how are we going to fight? Together as siblings, and taking the rope to be able to weave that that sheet, or to weave that cloth, and the work is there, and we have to set it up for the people that come behind us.
You got to unmute, Chella.
Está en mudo. Chela.
Gracias, Jessica. And
Thank you, Jessica.
and I'm going to ask a hybrid
Voy a
of those questions.
preguntarte un
for
híbrido de
Mati.
esas dos preguntas.
So Mati, like, what does safety and liberation both look like in your country? And do you think you can achieve it without thinking internationally, without thinking about how literally we support what's going on, like US has its hand in what's going on in South America. You know what I mean? And so yeah, what does liberation and safety both look like?
I think Jessica wants to say something.
Oh, go for it. Can't hear you.
Yes, something super quickly is the question. I just want to say that Latin America, Caribbean America, as a community, as a transgender, transvesti, and transsexual, is being Jessica, estamos siendo ¿cómo? Perdón, no te escuché. Que la comunidad es that they're killing us. And so we have to take that union together. I don't know, say the word from America United, from American unions, is to be able to have that support, right? That sponsor, because the truth is that in Latin America, there's a lot of corruption. There is a lot of corruption. And so you feel bad that we don't have that political support. I am very saddened because the government themselves, the military force, the police, have that uniform, right, of authority, and they abuse of their authority. And you know, like nothing happens if they kill us and blame it on someone else, right? Because they are there. And so I want to have that level of support so that our community, Central America from the Caribbean and South America, see us united, and that we don't have fear. If we are going to retrocede, as our ancestors did, our grandparents did, when the war came in our country, that we have to defend ourselves with machetes, rocks, sticks, to be able to defend our land, to be able to defend our water, to defend our territory. We're going to have to do it because the government is not supporting us. But I am with all of my sisters in Latin America and the Caribbean, and I feel saddened when I see the news that they're killing them. They're killing them, and there's not a protocol that will support us, right? And so I want to say that the security for a trans woman is always going to be at the center of things.
I am very agree with you, Jessica,
Estoy muy de acuerdo
because it's about this, like we have in Colombia and Latin America, these three like big things we have to fight against is like capitalism, colonialism, and patriarcado, you know. So we are living among these ideas very established here, very normalized. And now I think we must start thinking not as little, very locally, but if you see what happened with the uprisings in America, including states, are in the countries that have lived the strong influence of neoliberalism. Here in Colombia, we've been always under these neoliberal free market policies that are very what Jessica was talking about: corruption, impunity. Everything is always these institutions always protect the big ¿cómo se dice? Empresas, big you know, corporations.
Corporation.
Yeah. So and people are very unprotected. Police in our countries doesn't care for us, doesn't take care for us. Police cares banks, police cares multinationals that come here to make gold mining, petroleum, oil exploitation, you know. And but they never protect the lands of indigenous people, for example. And we have been talking about from these other perspectives that security must be the opportunities, the giving opportunities for everyone to have the way to care to each other. You know, we have to get the guarantees of accessing education, health, our lands, our ways, our own to respect our own knowledge, you know, because here in Colombia, the knowledge is just the white knowledge of the university, not the knowledge of indigenous people, not the knowledge of the transgender community, not the knowledge of the women. You know, we are always very under this idea of a white guy telling us what to do. So we have to start changing this, and security must be, we must have opportunities to everyone, and that's one of our big struggles. And also the liberation should come from solidarity. We have here, we say it in English, in Spanish, I'll say it in Spanish, ternura radical, you know, like
radical care.
It's like being around everyone. We have here, like when this thing of the police happened, police supporters start saying, if you have a problem, call your mom. And we answered, oh, my mom has always cared for me more than anyone else. So yeah, I will call my mom, and I will be the family of my friends, and I will start thinking my siblings are not just the ones who are black or white or as I am, you know, but my siblings are the ones who need to be cared. So that change, that need to change. And I know that is very hard to talk with all grown people, but I guess we have to put this discussion on the table right now. So in the future, the grown up will have this discussion already made, you know. So I think the security is all around solidarity and opportunities, and caring is what we can do for each other. So that's our like way to try to do things. It's very hard here in Colombia, but we must. It's the only way, because this policing state is very, very harsh. It's always very, and they are so, I don't know how to say, descarados, so in our faces. They say in our faces, you deserve to be dead. something, you are a thief, you're a terrorist, you are something. You always have a reason to be that. So to be exterminado, to be killed. So we have to stop like having these ideas, and this has to do a lot with this internal enemy logic of the colonization of the states and this neoliberal I don't know how to say establishment put here.
Whoa, yes, yes, yes. Claro que sí. Last round of questions also. This is going to be really simple for folks. I think. Sha, what else do you want folks to know? Sha, where are you at? Okay, there you is. What do you want folks to know about, not just about the struggle, because like it's not just about like being depressed about the struggle, right? It's like about the fight back, right? It's about the fight back. I love Hamid says it's building power, not paranoia. So what do you want folks to know about the fight back, and your closing thoughts that you want folks to know?
Yeah, well, I'm just reading, I put it up on my wall the other day. It's from Abolish Time. It's an Instagram called Abolish Time, but it was just a quote that they put up, which says, when we each are supported by resilient networks of collective care, we are prepared to address harm
Estamos
in our
preparados
communities and take steps towards ending oppression. And so I think for me, a lot of the focus that I've, in having to retreat
I'm sorry, I
in a way
missed the quote.
from the
Would you be able to
streets.
read it?
Read it again? Yeah, I can read it again. So when we each are supported by resilient networks of collective care, we are prepared to address harm in our own communities and take steps towards ending oppression. So yeah, and having to almost retreat and kind of come back to our family and friends and our, the networks of care that we do have, and really trying to breathe as much life into them. And then obviously nature and talking to the unseen. Also, I draw a lot of strength from that. But ultimately, yeah, things like this, I think just keeping the conversation alive, keeping each other giving, we are, keeping, the people we love alive every day. And it's very draining and it's very scary, and we're all very traumatized. And so handle with care and keep forming strong friendships and strong networks. And I really, in my life, try and build that, because that's where I feel safety. It's almost like, because I feel so isolated at times. And, it's easy to become paranoid because there's a lot of surveillance, people are the police, the people are the police, and that's scary. So, but to push against that and to continue to make friends and to continue to put yourself out there and continue to not feel scared of people, because it's also just people, and people with guns are a different, issue, but culturally normalizing, as Marty said, trying to kind of breathe life into other people's stories and make it and normalize, yes, people are sex workers. Yes, people are Black. Yes, people are trans. It's really not that deep even. But they want to, they breed, they really try and, make people, the cis system are really on they're in a psychosis essentially. And so I think it's about also recognizing that, how strong we actually are and how clever and how beautiful, and just every day coming back to that gratitude and that awareness and reinforcing and validating and uplifting each other, and continuing to just point shame at protests here. We yell shame at the colonizer, shame, no, they are the ones who should feel shame, and Christianity and colonization really tried to use shame as a weapon. So I think yeah, just empowering that. And yeah, that's my closing words.
Jessica, what are some final thoughts you would love to leave with us? Yeah. What else do you want us to know?
Yes. Yes, for me, it is very interesting. I am very grateful to have had this opportunity to meet people that are in other countries and that continue working for our community, for our people, to continue to eradicate, as our compa said, the colonialism, to eradicate the patriarchal system, to be grateful to our ancestors that in one sort of way have us here with strength. Me particularly, I believe that healing of the earth, the healing of the water, and as a transsexual woman, I am not outside of that. And yeah, just to be gratitude for everyone, and not to be sorry for what we continue to work for, to continue building alliances that are super important for everyone. Thank you so much, and sending you lots of hugs.
Mati, same question.
I would like to say something that my friends, my sister, transgender sister, has teach me. People here has always asked, inquire them, why do you exist? And this question is, why are you the way you are? It's like, what the fuck? I have never received this question, as a white woman in my country. And they always answer, having fun while I exist. They doesn't. Uh, some days they answer with this knocking their face, like with anger. But most of the days they answer having fun, dancing. We have here a say. It's like nadie le quita uno lo bailado. No one can take you your dancing, your dance move all on. I don't know. And this sense is this what I think we have to keep having, our happiness, our joy to live, and keep on living with our love to each other. I guess that's what we can like answer to these people who says you cannot exist. We can answer, yeah, I will, and I have fun while existing. That's, I guess, what we can do. And all, as well as my fellow, my compass here, has that. I guess we have to strengthen our friendship relationships. We have to see each other as what we are, people trying to change these ideas. So that's it. Yes.
Okay, thank you to the panelists. We are gonna, please stay there because we're gonna have like a Q&A time after the video that I'm gonna show. This was a person that couldn't be here in person. So I'm going to actually share my screen. Where's the share button? Hold on, y'all.
At the bottom where it says share screen.
Oh, I'm a mess. I am a mess, Baba. I found it. Okay. Hold on. And we'll start. Done. So I'm just gonna wait, sorry about that. Done. So I'm just gonna hear it. Keep continuing to do it. Y'all can hear it. So go back to say what you just said. I didn't even hear anything you said.
Yes, we can. The sound was fine, Shella.
I know, but so I'm just gonna. The thing is, that was the second one, not the first one. So let me see. Hey everyone. So as you can see, this is pre-recorded. Welcome to, I don't know when this is going to be shown, but this conversation, I hope, gets us to really think about the fight back in different countries and how they intersect with ours. And speaking of that, one of the people that I just think is an amazing person, I met them through Facebook. Their pronouns are they. They are from the Middle Eastern region. They are a writer. They critique. They have a really amazing lens on gender and on race as well. So welcome, Nod. How are you doing, Nod?
Hey, Trevor. Hey, baby, I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
I'm here. I acknowledge that things are very heavy at this time, and that, things are really heavy at this time. So my first question for you is, how's the political climate? Meaning, how's like COVID? How has protesting? How has, everything that's going on affected trans and gender nonconforming folks in your region?
Well, as you might already know, here in the Middle East, being trans and being gender nonconforming, being gender variant in general, is criminalized. There's so many laws in so many different countries all over the Middle East or North Africa that see it as a crime. Um, and as you know, like with the quarantine, everything got like much more extra harder. Like all like as gender nonconforming people, as trans people, especially as uh, people of color, we already surviving. We're already in constant state of surviving. Quarantine didn't make that any better, actually. Um, for example, like a lot of in a lot of Middle Eastern countries, you cannot really get out of your family house till you get married, and by married, of course, heterosexual married and all that. So for a lot of trans folks all over the Middle East, they might end up being trapped in quarantine with an abusive parent or an abusive partner, or and as you know, like the law here does not stand by our side. So yeah, that was like a huge issue during the quarantine.
Hmm. So, Nod, you just named that that folks can't, usually in your culture, folks don't leave um, their homes unless they get traditionally married. So, are there a lot of homeless? Are there a lot of homeless trans and gender nonconforming and queer folks?
Yeah, actually, housing is a huge issue also for trans people over here. Um, the main issue, like if you're like, for example, like if you are a trans woman and you're like on HRT and your ID does not match the way you present now, that might be a struggle for you, because not just like for even housing, even like traveling from city to another city, applying for job and all of that. And in a lot of situations, we see like this kind of pressure, like on coming out on a lot of LGBT youth. So I think what's happening kind of that a lot of queer youth would try to come out, embrace of lonely child if you came out. What happened? Okay. Yeah, I can.
Okay. So I I, I also want to ask about I want to ask about something I remember you telling me, but like that I still, as a person who's born here, I don't know. How, like, if something happens to LGBTQ, trans and queer folk,
Kind of.
what like, um, are there any protections? Like here, I'm not going to say there's protections, but do trans and queer people get to advocate for themselves and get justice?
I'm kind of breaking off, Stella.
Huh?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? Because you were kind of breaking off. I couldn't hear.
No
So can
problem, no
you
problem.
repeat the question?
I said, like when trans and queer folks get violently harassed or there's violence against y'all, I mean us in that country,
Yeah.
what can be done? Is there anything that can be done? Do police help? Do police harm?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Um. So like the kind of we face a lot like violence here in the Middle East against like trans people and gender conforming people, but like we face from different directions. On one side you have the police violence and the government violence against trans people, whether like putting trans people, like if you are a trans woman they would put you like in male prison. If you are a trans man they would put you in woman prison. And it kind of depends like the power dynamics, but like of course the harassment for the police officers, sexual harassment, beating. I guess around 2 or 3 years ago, five Pakistani women got beaten up by the police till they died, and no one here in the local news, no one here heard about anything. What usually happens when situations when police brutality crimes like this happens, uh, they just cover it. Like we don't have like numbers to tell us how many trans people have been murdered, how many trans people have been committing suicide. Like a lot of people, like other than police, like by the people on the street or their family members, they would like face a lot of harassment and they might end up like committing suicide. That's like a huge form of violence. So we don't have clear numbers on that, because a huge part of the government work in the Middle East and toward the LGBT people is by covering everything, by covering numbers. Um, and as you know, like a lot of Middle Eastern countries have like huge like relations with the countries like America, like Canada, like Britain, and because of relations like that, because of their um, power and their economic situation, they get a pass for a lot of situations. Like when everyone signed for human rights, they get a pass for like LGBT people rights, for women rights, uh, for what's what also for like the kafala system. The kafala system, for example, it's I can't think of other way to put it than it's just pure slavery. They get like a lot of workers. Some of them might be LGBT as in they just get controlled by the person who's in charge of like their papers or their ID, and it's absolutely wrong. And has to stop. Like a lot of folks over the Middle East are trying to advocate, but like there need to be like global pressure for them to respond. You know. So yeah, that's this gaslighting. That's like represent a lot of the violence we face over here. Like it's like no one knows really about it, no one writes about it. That's actually why I kind of start writing, because I really don't want to be erased. I really don't want like my story to be told by someone who cannot like relate to it or who cannot know all the aspects from it. And a lot of to advocate, regardless that it's really hard and it's really dangerous, but a lot of people are putting their lives on the line for this cause, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was amazing what you just said about you telling your own story, which gets into your art, right? I know that a few of these questions weren't on the questions I gave you, but I sometimes you just bring
Okay.
out a question. So you
It's
write, right?
fine.
Which is like how
Yeah.
when you are writing, um, just being honest, are you scared of like your government like even this? Are you scared of like your government finding this and like coming to you and like I'm sorry, I don't want to cry.
Of
Um
course.
coming to you
It's okay.
and like what
Fine.
precautions do you take to make sure that you're safe? Like is there anything that you can do to
I
make sure that you're
mean,
safe?
there's like um when usually people like talk to you like safe space. What is your safe space? To me, my safe space is my friends and my support system. But like other than that, in general, there's no such thing as like, especially like for like people like in the Middle East, like people, and we already considered like third world countries, you know. So like there's no such things as a constant state of like safety in here. We are like always vulnerable. There's always like it's like imagine like you're trying to compromise your authentic, like you being authentic and real to yourself, to your safety, or compromising like your mental well-being to finding a job. Basically, it's like always we are in this state like choosing between two things. And like for me with like my writing, it's like this coping mechanism in this dynamic where I'm always trying to figure out this like, by the way, you know, my country, and you know it's very hyper masculine, you know, it's like very binary based. And by like my assigned gender, I'm like forced to be in the like male side. And you know, when it comes to men, they like when they see you, it's really interesting, because sometimes when I get a lot of times when I get harassed, I look at the man and I feel like he's having some kind of a breakdown, that like he's triggered by the way I look at them makes sense, or like that I reclaim my relationship with my gender. So it's not based on pain and trauma, it's more based on joy and expression. So when they see me, they feel, of course, like with men, their toxic masculinity it's not doesn't hurt everyone else. It also hurt them as well. So they feel kind of triggered. Like, why do you get to do that? Uh, how could you? How are you confident looking like that in public? Or how are you like, you know? So it's like it's a kind of statement. They need to make this statement. And a lot of my writings come from these places, from being harassed in public, feeling vulnerable, feeling unstable, feeling, uncertain what tomorrow might look like. But like, as much it's a coping mechanism, as much it's also I want to get to write my own story, and like I want people like me to get to write their own story as well. Because at least I know that my through my lifetime, it's going to be hard navigating life as a trans person from the Middle East, and I know that will always be an issue. But like, I'd rather like fight till the last day of my life for being free, for just like it's my body and it's my own terms, and that's why I just like want to spread the word that we are here, we will continue to be here, we are always here, and that will never change, you know.
Can y'all still hear me? I just wanted y'all to see that there's more, but like, for the sake of time, I just wanted y'all to hear that they were just so amazing. And I want to leave time for some questions and answers for our panelists. Hold on, let me try to bring this back up. Ah, I'm a mess. Okay, how do I do this?
Just go to the top of the screen, Chella, and just
Yeah.
go close the screen share.
Oh, screens. Okay.
There you go.
Hey, okay. Thank you, Baba.
Of course.
Yes. So, with that being said, I mean, I can also facilitate this part. Anyone has any questions for our panelists? Please feel free to write it down in the chat, so that we can see it. I know that Hamid actually had a question for Shah. Would you like to start with that?
Yeah, sure. Shah, well, first of all, Shah, thank you for a very powerful conversation, and thank you for bringing in a whole global perspective and this internationalism, which is exactly where we want to go. But Shah, thank you again for dialing in from Australia. And
No worries.
you posted a story
Oh
about.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So you posted a story about an Indigenous woman who's going to be in the Victorian Parliament.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really an interesting piece where they are talking about their and if I may just quickly share this about they're an indigenous person who's going to be now going into the parliament, and the
Mm-hmm.
question is they're swearing allegiance to the colonizer. um,
Mm.
and I think that's been a also a conversation for the longest time about the inside outside strategies.
Yeah.
That how
Mm-hmm.
do we then, do we change the system from the inside? Do we work the system from the outside? Of course,
Mm-hmm.
here at the coalition, we basically reject the notion of a seat at the table because we talk about dismantling
Mm-hmm.
the table. That no, we don't want to
Yeah.
be at that table. That is a toxic table to
Mm-hmm.
begin with. Because,
Exactly.
so just wanted to throw this to folks, I mean, on this conversation as well, that that how are you thinking about it? Because I think this seems to be a really powerful
Yeah.
person, and yeah.
Because it's my friend, so it's interesting because that family is a really powerful family. And the way that I observe them doing it is they kind of put an arm in everything. So they kind of are inside, outside, it's a bit loose sometimes. And sometimes it's confusing as to how effective any of it is going to be. But ultimately, yeah, I definitely think the table itself is toxic. But there's as I said, there's like a tongue-in-cheek kind of energy here where it's like, yeah, it's almost like it's I don't know, it's like being dismantled so rapidly, and there's so much truth just in what has already been shared, politically in the space, that I do think there's something cheeky about them going in and doing it. And as my friend, I'm like, I know their politics and I know that they're not, trying to, they're only doing what they can do within the confines of it. But when they're in there, they do lots of cheeky things. But their family are all, in like grassroots activists or radicals. So it's just strange at this point, but it's also kind of funny. I don't know, because yeah, it's like, I definitely have always been like, just, we need to leave them in the dust, you know, and perpetuating it is kind of giving them the power that we're saying, oh, you're legitimizing what they've done or whatever. And I do still believe that. I don't think my friend Lydia going in there is going to necessarily, it's not the key. And I don't think they're going in with that either, though. It's kind of like, this is just the path that they've taken. And I think with everyone in our networks, it's kind of, we have to be creative as well. And we have to always, I try not to be too essentialist or moralistic anymore. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm like, that's a definite no. But sometimes I leave a bit of room to just see, you know, because things can just happen as well. And as I said, though, it's a smaller population and the white people here are really quite a conglomerate of people, you know, they're really quite, so it's just interesting. It's different, I think, all over the place. And yeah, the smaller population thing here definitely makes it seem a bit different, but it's like, meanwhile, we're all still a bit distracted. You know, I think that's probably the only critique I have of kind of what I see go on, is that because we have our hands in many pies, sometimes it's hard to find that collective vision and what we are standing, you know, together for or because of, especially, as I said, because it's a bit awkward here. It's just a bit awkward. And I feel like, yeah, as much as they are spying on us, I feel like we're also spying on them. And it's a bit of a standoffy kind of vibe. And anything could kind of happen though. Like it's in this place, I feel. And I feel, yeah, it's just a bit of a mind fuck. And I don't know exactly the ins and outs of everything that's going on, but I do know that people, have been creating very powerful networks and very powerful, there's a lot of powerful clans and groups of people here that are already established communities as well. So there's, you know, that's happening. But yeah, it's just interesting. I just don't really know what the answer is anymore. I just see things play out and I'm just like, okay, this is happening now. But I think ultimately, yeah, it does just need to burn down. And it will be funny to see it happen, because I do think it is going to happen here. Like, I really think it's going to get so ridiculous. And I think that for everywhere, you know, but in the meantime, people's lives are in danger. And so there's really no time to fuck around anymore at all. It's like, now's the time. And yeah, but it does just seem like it's confusing, especially with the lockdown. It really has thrown a lot of us into confusion because we're literally being trapped in our houses. So it feels a bit more like this is the prison colony and our houses are now the prisons. And when is the prison riot going to begin? The only people leading anything that is, you know, trying to push against that are white people who don't want to wear masks and who want to go to the beach. So they're the only people organizing right now against the police. And so it's just a bit like, this is awkward for everyone. And we're appreciating the time inside. I've been appreciating just not having to be in the mess of it all. So I think it's a time for rest. And yeah, we'll see what happens as the lockdown lifts. And who knows? It's just all a bit unknown at this point. But yeah, I do think I posted that article and it's just something, it happened yesterday. And I watched my friend literally say out of their mouth, I pledge allegiance to the Queen of England. I was like, but I know that they know that that's bullshit. You know, it's like, it's not like they're brainwashed. It's not like they're trying to do something. It's like they could become the prime minister and then they could just say, how long was that muted for? I don't remember. Just a minute. Oh, I was just saying, yeah, it just happened yesterday. My friend swearing into Parliament. So
Yeah,
it
you
was
said
weird
they
to see.
could become the
Oh,
prime
I said all that.
minister. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just saying I just don't know what's going to happen. It's kind of just, yeah, they could be a prime minister, as I said, and just give all the land back and just, it could all be turned over. Like, who knows? I'm like, I don't know, it's very interesting. But yeah, we're really fighting against just very stubborn white people, really, at this point in this colony. And yeah, they want it to be peaceful too, though. So they, that's why it's not so militarized here, because they are very fragile and it's really being built for them. It's their little playground or whatever. So it's really just bratty, neoliberal white people. And there's a lot of them. And I just don't know what to do with them. No one knows what to do with them. I'm just like, what are you doing here? What have they brought? Yeah.
Thank you, Jenna.
And so I think they're going to have to do it. I feel like if they burn it down, that would make the most sense in a way, because it's their mess. But yeah, the article is interesting. And I think Lydia talks about the table in it. But yeah, this happened yesterday, so I've been trying to process it.
Hamid, did you get any other questions for other folks?
I was looking for those, but I have, I mean, everybody has access to unmute, so I think Amy has a question, so.
Yeah, I did. They can ask it, so they can, Amy, you can unmute yourself and have.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I just sent a question to Chela, just asking, sorry that I've been in and out tonight, but I really appreciate and love this conversation. It's so important. And I have really enjoyed sharing space with Shah and Chela and Mati, who is like una hermana that we've built with for many years. So that, and Mariela and Ham, just everyone sort of coming together from different spaces. I love this and it makes me feel very happy. Just wanted to say that. But one of the questions that I had that we've been talking about initially with Mariela and Mati and Chela and others, Ale, who are in a group where we're talking about radical projects with Colombian Compass. How can we, like, what are the next steps as we build forward for international solidarity that's decolonial, right? So how do we do international solidarity that's decolonial? I know that many of you are doing this work, and so I just want to, because I'm sort of, my heart is between Los Angeles and Colombia all the time in my struggle. So anyways, just wanted to see, what do panelists think? What are our next steps? How can we support one another? Mati talks about ternura radical, like as the way forward. And I feel like Shah has also said, collective care and centering. How do we center collective care really in our daily praxis? Like in the ways that we relate to one another and the ways that we support one another. So yeah, just wanted to hear what any of you who might have thoughts on this, I'd love to hear.
I think it's
español. Should I say in Spanish? Lo planteo la pregunta en español. ¿Sí?
No, I don't think so.
No, ya te interpretamos. Ahora tenemos una línea por teléfono, sí.
Oh, bueno. Ok, gracias.
So we've interpreted, now we have a phone line.
Okay.
I'm only gonna say it has to center them. That's why I'm like, hands up. Like, it's gotta center folks like Mati, Jessica, Shah, Nad, who's not here, who I can pass on messages, and other folks that we are, wanting to build solidarity with, right? That's all I'm gonna say. I'm muting myself now.
Well, I believe You know what happened here recently? Talking about our independence wars when we became a republic. Well, in Colombia recently, the president of Colombia, who is a very fascist guy, said that we own our independence to the United States. So people who study history unveil, I don't know, they rediscover or put on the table that the country who really helped our independence army was Haiti. So I guess we can like go in those kind of relations. IT gave us money to our independence army to go and fight against the Spanish corona, the Spanish ¿cómo se dice? Reyes, kings. So I guess we can like learn some ways to in those episodes of our history, how we can like regather, not trying to copy what happened in like in the States, for example, with the movement of abolish the police. I guess we here in Latin America can talk about dissolving la police. You know, we can start like playing and giving each country and each people as pueblo. I don't know how to say that. The tools and their and recognizing their own ways of struggle and their own ways of having on their own knowledge and then on their own ways, so we can learn of each other, but not in these like vertical spaces of knowledge which we have always known, like with a teacher and we students, like but in this another way of like in this gathering horizontally, you know. It's very different what is happening in Chile, but not that different. It's very different what's happening in the States, but not that different. It's very different what's happening in the Caribbean, but it's not that different. So we have to find all those particularities of our local struggles, and well, have them in mind, but also find all this other place where we find with each other. I guess that could be a way of decolonizing our relations as people who wants to change this policing state and militarize the state.
Don't see another question in the chat except just a message here from when Pancake was on earlier. Okay, never mind. I can't. Oh yeah, so Pancake just left a message saying thoughts and prayers go out to the transgender woman stabbed multiple times in MacArthur Park. So they just wanted to say that.
Sí, sí te escuchamos. Yeah, I also, you know, I also feel that ¿me escuchas, Jessica? Sí, ok. Que tú también sientes que, perdón, no te alcancé a escuchar. Okay. I don't feel that we should shy away from our ancestral struggles of our community indigenous community. There's also, as they said, maybe not mimic, but trusting that they also started the struggle or the fight, that they've taught us to defend what's ours, to defend what's part of our collective.
Yes, I just wanted to speak on
Sí, quería.
the
Sorry.
power of prayer and to the ancestors and setting altars and talking to the unseen. It's very powerful. And just talking to our transcestors. I always try and reach out to my transcestors because I don't know if these cis ancestors are going to do me any good sometimes, but some of them stay there as helpful guides. But essentially, talking to the unseen and expanding spiritually, is, if we can't expand physically, that's kind of our only way that we can. And I feel like there's a lot of power in spirit, and we are all here for a reason at this time. And I'm really grateful to have this space to talk to you all today. And sending so much love and power through that unseen. And like, the internet is pretty weird, but it's also just a reflection of what I think our ancestors, were doing on the spiritual plane, which is connecting to familiar faces and energies and summoning power and spirit. And, so we are using our tools that we have available to do the same thing. So we are just, re-embodiments. And they've, seen many battles. And so this is just our particular battle. And but there's definitely been a lot of shifts, and I definitely am feeling, I feel so hopeful, weirdly. Like, there's nothing really showing me that there is, except other than I just feel like the game and the jig is up a bit. Like, I'm like, they've been called out. I'm like, we see it. So we'll see. But sending love to all of you.
Sheila, a couple messages in the chat. You're muted.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry.
Do you want me to read those?
Yes, please.
Okay, so first message is from Andrew saying that such important work and loved hearing such a diversity of voices, solidarity, plus all cops are bastards, plus love for global BIPOC, trans, and GNC people, plus together we will fight and win. Another message from Alejandro. They're saying, we wanted to say thank you to Stop LAPD for organizing this event. And thank you so much to Chela and all the panelists, Shah, Jessica, and Mati. So much knowledge and bravery in the virtual room. And and then, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for I I want to thank everyone for coming. Thank you, Jessica. Gracias, Jessica. Gracias, Mati. Thank you, Shah. Mariela, thank you for the labor of getting La Familia here. And thank you to the interpreters. Yeah, I interpreted this morning in ASL, so I know how hard it's gotta be. So please give a round of applause to the interpreters. Yes. Oh yes. Okay. I also want to talk. I have some. I think this is an ongoing conversation that we can continue. I don't know about next month, but I definitely would love to get more as Amy asked earlier. What are your pronouns, Amy? They, she?
She, they is fine.
Okay. That you asked earlier about continuing and how do we, how do we keep this going, especially working in solidarity? I think that's also a Mariela question, because like Mariela's been doing some work with other groups and stuff, so you can answer that if you want, but I think this conversation needs to keep going. So yes. I'm trying to be finished. Do you have anything to say, Mariela?
Go ahead. No, if you're trying to be finished, finish first. I was tuning in. Go ahead, Chela.
I was telling you to go ahead. Okay, because I just have announcements. I have 2 announcements. So if you wanted to say something to wrap it up, okay, I'll just say the announcements. Since this is the gender and sexuality group, for those that don't know, there's going to be a virtual event called Queer Apocalypse. Queer Apocalypse, yes, Byron. Byron's helping out with it, and Child's in a band, and they're performing. So am I. And it's going to be this Saturday, US Day. I don't know what day or time it would be, y'all. Y'all can hit me up and we can figure that out. If you want more information, it is this Saturday a las 7 en la noche. A la noche. And but I don't know what time it's going to be y'all time, so just hit me up and we'll figure it out. With Byron's help, I'll figure it out. So Queer Apocalypse, follow it on Instagram if you have an Instagram, Queer Apocalypse 2020. And there's also a Facebook page called Queer Apocalypse in Quarantine. Just hit me up. I'm on Facebook. Byron's on Facebook. Shaw's on Facebook. You can hit one of us up and we'll give you the information. So that's 1. Number 2 is 6 days after that, we are going to take over somewhere. I'm not going to talk about it too much on here because we are being surveilled. But it's another takeover to demonstrate trans power, So if y'all want more information on that, hit a girl up. You can also hit Byron up. They're also part of the coordinating team. But you can hit me up as well. Sorry, y'all. Oh, yeah, Byron, it's on Twitch. I'm sorry. It's on Twitch and Zoom, but it's going to be streamed on Twitch, which is yeah. If you want more information about any of those things, hit a girl up, hit me up. And I want to really thank Jessica, and Mati and Shah and Nad, who couldn't be here personally, but thank you, Baba, for letting me do this. I've been hearing some of these folk stories for a minute, and I've been wanting. I think it's, and since I've been hearing about what's going on in Colombia, I was like, yes, I'm glad we're bringing them on to this conversation. So yes, I'm done. You can wrap it up, Hamid, if you want.
Thank you, Chela. I just want to thank you, Chela. You're amazing.
Thank you, Chela. Mariela, were you going to make a comment?
Thank you, Chela, so much for holding us. And I hope you all can join us. Every Tuesday we have meetings like this where we're building with each other. I put my email in the chat if you want to talk about how to continue this work together with all of us. Feel free to reach out. Looking forward to staying connected. Much love and power. Thank you.
And then next Tuesday, 6 o'clock. Oh, sorry, Mariela. I thought you were done.
Oh, thank you.
Next Tuesday, 6 o'clock on October 13th is going to be the same thing, the War on Youth fight. So they're going to be talking about how the youth are being targeted, but also how the youth are organizing and fighting back and on the front lines on dismantling this system, this toxic and disease system. So thank you all very much. This is going to be uploaded on our website at stoplapdspying.org/webinars. I'm going to just post it so you can also view the previous ones as well. So this is webinar number 29. So yeah, and be safe, be well. And I am posting this thing. There you go. Okay, so there it is out there. And all the 29 webinars are on the website. But thank you again. Much love, much appreciated. Thank you. Bye-bye.